Okay, Gunjan.
So, welcome everybody. Today we are having a get together basically to discuss a lot of cultural practices which have been influencing our choices for proper lifestyle when there is some ailment in our life and how we approach it. The first-hand experience of our families, our surroundings, neighborhood, native place will be influencing the discussion today. So we have Dr. Hina with us. She has been a driving force in this WWPDFM sessions, and Dr. Elizabeth Rizzi is also here. So I guess we should start the session, and then at the end we'll listen to ma'am, and if we have Dr. Tariq as well, then we would like to listen to his views as well. So when we start this topic, the first one on this topic we'll be discussing about the cultural influences and lifestyle, like a simple practice of waking up early or a regular walk or something. So I would like to invite our first speaker for this from Bhutan, Dr. Sonam Choki. She is MD General Practice, Kuchwaling Hospital, Bhutan. Ma'am, we'd like to hear what you have to say.
Dr. Gunjan, can you share my presentation or should I project my PPT?
Ma'am, could you be louder, Dr. Sonam?
Can you share my presentation?
Just give me a minute.
Okay.
Do let me know if it is visible or not.
It's not visible, Gunjan.
Yes, I'm trying to do this. Let me know if it's visible now.
Now it is.
Okay. Ma'am, you can begin now.
Good afternoon to everyone. So I'm Dr. Sonam Choki from Bhutan. So I've made a very brief presentation on our discussion today, which is influence of cultural practices on lifestyle and disease management. So I would like to first introduce my country to the audience today. So Bhutan is a very small country with a population of 7,70,000 currently. So it's a landlocked country. Dr. Gunjan, can you switch it to the next slide? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
So if you see on the world map, the red dot is Bhutan. So we have our neighboring countries, India, China, Pakistan. So as you can see, we are a very, very small country and our population is not much compared to the rest of the world. So next slide. So with this picture, I just wanted the audience to know that we are rich in this green coverage forest. We have plenty of medicinal plants, herbs, and if you take into account the availability of these herbs and plants, so I just wanted to discuss a little bit on this, which will be shared in my next few slides. So I wanted to begin with this alcohol, so which is actually ingrained in our Bhutanese culture. So if we look at this picture, so on the left side you have this alcohol container, which is actually a quite expensive wooden piece of art. So this is polished with lacquer, which is either colored black or red. And this is usually taken as a sign of prosperity. It is used in rituals, in Bhutanese rituals. Then you serve this alcohol to guests, and it's all the more part of a better hosting and presentation if you have this container. So what we Buddhists think is that alcohol is part of our lives. It's part of our culture. So when you are serving alcohol in this container, you are hosting your guests better than rest of the people. So if you look at my next slide, you'll see that we have this traditional wine offering ceremony as well. So this usually it takes place at important ceremonies. You have any inauguration, any special guest, any high officials visiting our country. So you will witness this traditional wine offering ceremony. So if you basically look at these alcohol cultures in our country, so people might think that, oh, there's nothing wrong with alcohol. There's nothing wrong with alcohol consumption in the country. But if we look at some of the data which are available in the country, so actually alcohol-related diseases contributes to the top 5 causes of morbidity and mortality in the country. And we have the data from last year as well. So it is in the top 5 causes of morbidity and mortality in the country. So what people think is that we have been using this substance, using this alcohol for generations and generations. And it's when we advise patients on preventing alcohol-related disorders and diseases, they are actually quite reluctant to adapt this change in their lives because it is very much ingrained in our everyday life, in our culture. So as a health professional as well, we face a lot of challenges with this alcohol-related disorders. And plus, it's quite challenging to bring about behavioral changes, especially in people who struggle with alcohol abuse. So that's what I wanted to highlight with these pictures. So next slide. And the next one is betel nut tree. So this is very, very popular actually in our country, Bhutan. So you can see almost everyone chewing betel nuts. So if you look at the picture as well, you have our Bhutanese men chewing, and you have this tourist as well who has befriended him, and he's participating in this practice as well. So when it's a practice or habit that is widely accepted, even though it's harmful for your health, people are reluctant to accept that this particular thing that you have been used to, that you have been doing it for quite a long time, is actually harmful for your health. So this is quite challenging as well to address. So in Bhutan also, we have a rising number of cases with oral cancer. So, and there are a lot of gum-related disorders with this as well. And it's quite challenging. I think that our people will be not willingly accepting that this particular food or substance is actually causing them harm. So what I wanted to highlight was the challenge in addressing these two issues, especially with alcohol and betel nut chewing practice that is very prevalent in our country. Next. So the third discussion I wanted to put forward was this traditional healing practices. So if I briefly tell the audience about the modern health care system in Bhutan. So this was first introduced in 1961. So Bhutan had its journey to modern healthcare first started in 1961, and we only had 2 hospitals, 2 doctors, and 2 nurses to begin with. That was in 1961. So if you date back, I think our healthcare system in Bhutan is quite in its early stages compared to rest of the world. And we still do not have advanced care and tertiary care compared to the rest of the world. So before this modern healthcare system came into existence in Bhutan, so people were relying on these traditional healing practices. So this mainly included this bloodletting practice and use of herbal remedies for treating illnesses. So, and there is a wide discrepancy in this practice as well, especially if we take into account the socio-economic disparity in the country. So these traditional healing practices are more prevalent in the southern and eastern region of the country, since they are since the poverty status is also different in these regions of the country. And we have quite a lot of cases such as snake bites who come with who present late, and they have these people and these patients have undergone this bloodletting practices, and they come with full-blown snake envenomation and complications such as cellulitis. So what I feel is that even though the healthcare system is improving in our country, we still have a long way to go on the advocacy of the services that we provide. And people in some parts of the country are still dependent on this traditional healing practices. So not only on the traditional healing practices, so if we look at the religious point of view also, people are still quite dependent on this religious and faith healing as well. So a bit sensitive topic to be discussed with in the first place, but it's a problem, and since it's a sensitive topic, so I think that we as healthcare providers need to find new solutions, a better approach to this faith healing, use of traditional remedies for treating illnesses. And although the advocacy has been going on for quite some time, I think ultimately it is the human factor, that is the people's attitude towards traditional healing and use of alcohol and betel nut chewing, that needs to be changed. So in every case, the human factor is the most difficult part to address actually. When it's a systematic problem, so we can work as a team to find a solution. But when it is a human factor problem, it's the most challenging to address in the first place. Yes, thank you. This will be the end of my presentation.
Yeah. So we are done with that, ma'am. You presented a lot of issues together, and that was such a concise thing. I believe I'm audible properly.
Yes, you are.
Yes. Okay. So now we'll be moving to our second speaker from Nepal, Dr. Rajni Giri. She is MD in General Practice and Emergency Medicine. She did her fellowship in Emergency Medicine. She is currently faculty additional professor in BPKIHS, Dharan, Nepal. Ma'am, we would like to hear you.
Thank you, Dr. Gunjan. Talking about culture, sorry, I had presentation. I'll just be talking
That's fine, ma'am.
on my own. Talking about culture in Nepal, we know that Nepal is predominantly Hindu majority country. So we follow Hinduism, and which influence the lifestyle of people here. The people practice such as fasting during festival, waking all in the morning, regular temple visits by morning walk, and engagement in pujas, ceremonies have all held maintain a healthy lifestyle, physically and mentally. So this Shravan month is considered auspicious month, and it's dedicated to Lord Shiva. So most women fast during this season, and they don't consume meat for a whole month. They don't consume even garlic and onions. So this is they have in this way, fasting in this month has seen a very way to purify and detoxify one's body and mind, and which allows individuals to be stronger with a connection with the God divinity. Like any other neighboring countries, Nepal has a diverse heritage culture. So we celebrate throughout the year festivals like Dasera, Tihar, Holi, and Chhath. So during these festivals, people gather and they feast a lot. and of course consume alcohol. So during this festival and after this festival, we have noticed many rise in the non-communicable diseases like patient comes with hypertension and uncontrolled diabetes. As we know that in culture can influence social norms and behavior, impacting in our health. For instance, we have some culture, some ethnic group who consume alcohol daily at a cultural basis. So it's not like in Bhutan as a whole country, but there are some ethnic groups. There are some ethnic groups like Mongolians and some Newari who consume alcohol on a daily basis, like early opener, eye opener. So they make this alcohol at home. It's a homemade, it's easily available. And these are the people who land up in diseases like chronic alcohol liver disease, and they come with alcohol withdrawal symptoms. And we must not forget that Nepal is an agriculture country. So most of the people mainly in the hill region, they have a very high occupational physical activity. So this way they are physically active. And in this people, we don't see much of the disease like non-communicable disease, but they do have disease like chronic and COPD. And 80% of the people are rural. They live in rural places. So transportation is not easily available. So the mode of communication is by walking. So this is in this way they are physically active also. So these people who are living in the far hilly region, they are more active and less. They have less communicable non-communicable disease, as we see. And we should also not forget with urbanization and this westernization, people have Nepal has undergone lots of rapid epidemiological changes. They have started to consume junk food and outside dining. So with all this has become a part of Nepal's culture now, and this has led to develop more cardiometabolic disease as well, and also we that like any other neighboring country, we have very high social supports, family ties. We live in a family, so which supposed to in a way as it helps us to be mentally and physically better health outcomes. It has better health outcomes. We get mental and physical support. I think I have to say in this topic. Shall we continue? We'll again come to other topic or the topic given. All right.
Dr. Rajani, if you want to continue, if you have got more things to say, you're more than welcome to consume this time. Or if you wish to come back, that's entirely fine with us. It depends on your availability.
Okay. So next topic I will talk about is illness prevention and management protocol. Since Nepal government has implemented health policy system in Nepal since 2 years, so people are aware of aware, and they come to disease for early checkup. They come early for prevention and of course detection of disease. But unfortunately, this insurance policy is not familiar, not aware to all the population of Nepal. Very marginalized people and poor people, they don't know about this insurance policy, and it also costs a minimum of Nepalese 2,500 rupees. They have to pay yearly. So these people are marginalized, they don't have access to it. But most of the 80% of the people are aware, and they come with this implementation of attention policy. It has a very good impact on health. And so this now due to monsoon, we have been hit by dengue. So this Dharan is very high nowadays, and every so our ED and emergency and outpatient are very overwhelmed with this patient. So what to manage to tackle this problem, we have planned a separate fever clinic, and so people go to that fever clinic, but it's only dengue fever for dengue people. So we do test that there immediately, and if it's positive, then we treat accordingly. And due to overwhelming of emergency outflowing, we have converted, we had a COVID hospital. So we had that was vacant for many months. So we have converted that COVID hospital into dengue hospital. So people, we do admit patients, there are also 30 patients, it's a 30 bed available hospital. So about for taking CARDAs and disease prevention, I'm not aware much about that, but people do take some CARDAs like ginger or turmeric water for disease prevention. And I've seen people taking ground bitter juice for hypertension and fenugreek seed for diabetes. But yes, during COVID time, there were lots of people who used to drink Gurjio plant. I think it's called Giloy in India. It's a woody climate plant, so they consume lots of those water during that time for immunity boost and recovery. And when you talk about Western medicine or surgical intervention stigmatized or not actually, it's not stigmatized in Nepal because it's widely accepted and participated in hospitals. But it is also important to note that there are some traditional medicine practices that are deeply rooted in Nepali culture. There are some some ethnicity group who don't who go to traditional healer before coming to the doctors. So especially for disease like seizure, if patient develops seizure, they don't come to the doctor directly. They go for traditional healings before coming to the doctor. So this preference for traditional medicine is more based on cultural belief rather than stigmatizing or criticizing Western medicine. And so when you talk about family, so family history of illness, how we are handling in Nepal. So many diseases are stigmatized in rural Nepal. So we have a diverse, multiple ethnicity, language, and culture. So it's all so there's stigma attached to certain illness like leprosy, seizure, and mental disorder. So if they have this disorder, they don't. People don't they prefer not to disclose during, especially during matchmaking process or during matrimony. So it's and it's culture, but it's cultural in some ethnic group like Burun people. They have cousin marriage are permissible, but in most of the castes, usually they find their own socioeconomic status, socioeconomic group, and ethnicity for choosing their partner. On the talking about the last topic, pregnancy and immunization. In this section also, there have been lots of decline in mortality and neonatal death. Nepal has a network of health community workers, which are called female community health workers, which play a very vital role in promoting child and maternal health. So they encourage people to do hospital delivery rather than home delivery. But there are some social beliefs and practice that are for birthing baby, particularly in the institution. Some believe that if they come to the hospital, doctors will do cesarean section. So that's why they don't come to the hospital because of the fear of cesarean section. And some examples include mobility, women's mobility, mainly crossing the river during pregnancy. So they are forbidden to cross river. So that may also restrict them to attend antenatal care, to attend antenatal visits. So if they believe that if they cross the river, then they will be proposed by ghost or evil spirit like that. So some people mainly in rural health, they do home deliveries, and there are certain prohibition during pregnancy, like people when they are pregnant, they are not allowed to consume raw papaya, and after delivery also there are many restrictions in Nepal, like people pregnant postpartum people can't watch TV, or they are forbidden for going into temples for 9 days. So they are unpurified, they are not pure. So only at the day 9 they get some pujas, and then only they are purified, both the child and the mother. but care also very care. They are the newborn mother also cared and fed with specific diets like lentil sprout and jaggery, ajwain, spices, so that it may stimulate, it can stimulate breast milk production. They are given special spices made of all cashew nuts, butter, and all such things, which has very high calorie, which is believed to help in uterine contraction. So these are the beliefs that we have, and so I think I'm done. Thank you.
That was a great presentation, ma'am, and I see a lot of similarities with Indian culture. And yes, we heard the views from Bhutan and now from Nepal. And I guess when Dr. Anupama would be representing India, she would have some very similar stories as well. For a lot of participants who are listening today, I would like to elaborate the 5 topics the speakers are touching, since you may not know why we have been touching these topics. It was basically the first point, the cultural influences and lifestyle, a practice which you have been doing every day. Whenever there is an illness at home, what is your first go-to step to do? The third topic was whether the Western medicine is accepted in your culture and surroundings. And if at all you know about a family history of any particular disease, does it affect the matrimonial aspect of that person? Fifth topic was how is a pregnant lady taken care of, and is the immunization during pregnancy and after delivery decided more by cultural opinion, or people are open to these kind of interventions? Now, Dr. Anupama Menon would start her presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Gunjan. Good afternoon, everybody. So to start with, I just want to share that as most of us know, India is very varied in our cultural, our religious, and our beliefs, and in a lot of customs and practices that happen. One is because of the wide geographical distribution, how the country is distributed, and two, because of the various sects of people who are living in India. We have a lot of different religious beliefs. We have a lot of different customs also. And broadly, certain things are divided, be it for North India or South India, and for Eastern and Western India also. We also see a great divide or a difference in the way people react when it comes to rural India and urban India. To start with the first topic, when we're talking about lifestyle influences, yes, it is seen that the lifestyle of earlier times, waking up early, making sure you are finishing your day early, making sure your meals are on time, early breakfast, early dinner, this is really shown to have an impact in health. And we see the chronic illnesses or our lifestyle illnesses are lesser in our rural population when compared to our urban population, because of the lifestyle and because of the influence of various things, like be it our job pressures, be it our different activities through the day. In an urban life, we see that usually these non-communicable diseases or our lifestyle diseases are more, because people are unable to maintain a healthier lifestyle. Usually the dinners are later. Usually there is a lot of partying or a lot of extra activities, which probably is increasing your calorie intake, and also later food is also having an impact. We also see that some changes in your day-to-day activities in terms of fasting, when it comes to religious fasting, because we have people from different religions. For example, where be it Muharram or Ramzan, during those times, we definitely have people who are fasting at that time, be it for a period of 30 days. And at that time, we see that the effect or the impact on their lifestyle is definitely different. There is more discipline at that time, even though there is fasting in terms of food, there is more discipline at that time. And we also, for people who are on chronic illnesses, especially on insulin and all, we are able to guide them and help them. How well can they maintain their sugars, or how can they make sure they take their tablets or their insulin at the same time, make sure diseases are well controlled and not having an impact, but at the same time being able to do what their religious belief want them to do. We also have Hindu religion, a lot of people who do Ekadasis, who do special fast during Navratri, Durga Puja and all, where mostly you tend to eat vegetarian food, and there is something called water fast, where you're allowed to have only water through the day or liquid diet through the day, not having anything solid, or maybe just focus on fruits and vegetables. All this has an impact on our health, because in a way this is helping to detoxify our body. Maybe that is not the intent with which a person does the fasting, but definitely we are all benefited because it really helps in that. And there is also a lot of a small community who also believes in making sure that they finish their dinner early. A lot of sect of people who believe in intermittent fasting, which has now become a new fad in India. We see a lot of people trying to and wanting to do intermittent fasting, and definitely having benefits, be it to control their GERD, be it to control their diabetes. People are all benefiting from choosing to do a little different things, but in a guided fashion, which will really help them. And these were things which in olden times people were practicing, probably not termed as intermittent fasting or not knowing what they were doing, but these were practices which were very much there in the earlier times also. So moving on to the second topic, about illness prevention and how that has helped. So to talk about the recent past during the pandemic, there was a lot of these homemade preparations or kadas which were designed by people at home to make sure the immunity is kept up well. India also has a lot of belief in Ayurveda, and there are a lot of special formulations in Ayurveda, which helps in immunity, which helps in disease prevention, which is widely accepted in India. When we talk about Western medicine or allopathy and alternative medicine, we see that for immunity and for long-term use, people prefer to do alternative medicine when compared to allopathy, and it's widely accepted. And people from all over India are definitely influenced and definitely interested to try something like this. The main reason for this is they tend to believe that there are no side effects or there are no concerns which will be affecting them if it is a non-allopathic preparation or form of medicine. So that is something which we have seen all throughout India. And the question about is Western medicine or surgical intervention stigmatized? I would say India, the healthcare in India is developing in a very, very fast pace. Having said that, I also want to agree and say that, yes, there is some stigma attached to Western medicine. We see that in our day-to-day practice. Somebody comes to you for a cold and cough, even if it is a viral fever, there is a push for an antibiotic. At the same time, the same person may be diabetic. You write an OHA for them, they will take it for 3 days and then they're done with that. So there is a lot of resistance to take Western medicine or allopathic medicine. So there is no differentiation in terms of rural or urban India for this. We see this in both sects of people, that they have definitely hesitation, I would say, to take anything long term. And it is always associated with the fact that people have a feeling that it is only allopathic medicine which will end up having side effects or long-term complications. They would rather not take the medication and face the consequences later on than take medication. So this is something which we have definitely seen in our population, in our day-to-day interaction with the people. This is something which we definitely come across. So the fourth topic is about family history of a patient or a particular diagnosis in a family. How does this affect the prospects of marriage for a person? Is there a stigma attached to this? Yes, definitely. In India, before even talking about it as a stigma, the most common tendency is to hide the fact that there could be a genetic issue or a illness. It can be something as simple as maybe, diabetes, early diabetes, or it can be something like epilepsy, something like tuberculosis in childhood. All these are hidden and all these are definitely not discussed because there is a huge stigma attached to this. And in a matrimonial prospect, this is something which definitely impacts. And unfortunately, there is a gender bias here. We see that these things mostly affect the girl child or the women rather than men when it comes to the matrimonial prospects. Or also for young girls, be it a diagnosis of PCOS, PCOD, this is also something which is taken with a huge impact in the matrimonial prospects. So people never think that, it is that common, or people don't think that prevention is definitely something that we should be focusing on. But the moment somebody talks about it, it's a taboo. People prefer not to talk about it. They would rather just keep mum about it and not discuss it. That is something we have seen very, very commonly. And when it is something more serious like a cancer or a torsion of the ovary leading to oophorectomy, all these things are really taboo topics. Nobody talks about it because they feel that this will lead to a huge problem for the female child to get married. So they prefer not to talk about it. And then pregnancy and immunization. I'm very happy to say that in India, maternal mortality is very well controlled. We are seeing a decreasing trend. Female feticide, which was happening maybe till 10 or 20 years back, we are seeing definite improvement. We are seeing awareness in people, and we have also seen a huge drive from our government also to ensure that this is not happening. Sex determination in a pregnant woman is definitely not legal in India. The aim is to make sure female children are also protected and female feticide is not happening in India. When it comes to antenatal care, our public health centers, primary healthcare centers are very well equipped to take care of antenatal cases. We have a beautiful model. We have a nice ANC antenatal care, which is being delivered through our primary care. We have immunization drives, which is again driven through the primary healthcare centers. They are Anganwadis and they are social workers and ASHA workers who help the primary healthcare center doctors, nurses to be sure they are able to drive this. It is very, very, I should say, well accepted in most part of the country, but we do see some resistance when it comes to child immunization. There are some particular areas in India where the immunization level is not as much as we would prefer because there is a religious belief that the immunization should not be done. So there is a resistance from a small population who don't want to get immunization done for their children. But we are driving a lot of programs where we want to create awareness about these things and definitely ensure that immunization is done well. In the same lines, another thing which Indian government and the Indian Pediatric Association is trying to do is to ensure the cervical cancer vaccination is also included as a mandatory vaccine in the immunization schedule. Currently, it is not a mandatory vaccine. It is an optional vaccine. Our aim is to ensure all children in India get vaccinated against HPV. Definitely, we want our female children to get vaccinated, but we want our boy children also to get vaccinated. So that is something we definitely want to focus on when it comes to immunization. Lastly, I just want to speak about mental health concerns and how our community is currently dealing with it. Earlier, maybe 10 years back, there was a lot of stigma attached to even talking about mental health concern or a symptom. But recent times, we see an improvement in this. When people want to visit a psychologist or a psychiatrist, the acceptance is a little better. There is awareness that mental health illness is also a reality. So unlike earlier times when we used to think that it is some sort of a witch or a voodoo, which is having an effect on the person, currently we are at least aware that this is also a health concern, how our body can get affected because of different chemicals, reactions in the body. Similarly, our brain and mind also can get affected. There is a lot of importance which is given to mental health. And a lot of hospitals, primary healthcare centers also ensure that they are able to support the people when there is a requirement. When we talk about in urban cities, this is also driven by a lot of multinational companies, a lot of schools who have started to have a counselor in the school level so that we identify any kind of mental health illness or any stress or concern that our children may have when they are growing up. or any special needs which needs to be met. So if there is a council level at the school, initial evaluation can be done there, and further help can be taken with discussion with their parents as required also. There is a lot of emphasis which we give to ensuring there is holistic wellness. We don't want to focus only on physical wellness or on mental wellness. We want to ensure it is holistic, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual wellness. That's all from my side. Thank you.
That was excellent and well covered. Thank you, Dr. Anupam. Dr. Gunjan, you need to unmute.
Okay, now I am unmute. Please keep me unmute, the host now. Thank you, Anupama ma'am. She is a chief physician and clinical lead for Cisco and has 15 years of experience catering to Indian population. That does bring out such fine points she has expressed right now. Now we will be moving ahead to Dr. Humaira Khattak. She is family physician, assistant professor at Peshawar Medical College. Ma'am, now over to you. Would love to hear your opinion. You will need to unmute yourself before. Yeah.
Okay, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Assalamu alaikum. I start with the name of Allah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And I'd like to share a screen with you. I'm going to try and get that on and see if we can get that. Share the screen with you. I've actually made a presentation that I'd like you to see. And if you give me 2 minutes to get that on.
Take your time, it's okay. Technology can be tricky at times, I understand.
It can be. Let me just get that sorted. How do I get on the screen?
While we are waiting for Dr. Humaira, if there are any questions, any participant would like to ask, any comments that they want to mention, anything they like to say, add, we can utilize this time.
Just drag this. Just talk to.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Dr. Hina, can I speak?
Yes, you can, please, go ahead.
I think the Humaira is not going to start, then we can talk later. Okay? He is starting now.
No, come, can you put that on? Yeah. I'm sorry, I have to get help from my children to get these things done. I'm one of the old school people, so not very computer savvy, I'm afraid. So just give me a minute.
We can see your slides if you want to.
Can you see my slide?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yes. Okay, I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Humaira Khattak, and I belong to Pakistan. Pakistan is Pakistan's culture is very diverse because of its historical, geographical, and ethnic diversity. It's a melting pot, really, of the Indian, Persian, Afghan, Central Asian, South Asian, all these influences around us. So we are actually a mishmash of all our neighbors, and some of the things that we have in Pakistan are very specific to us, but some of the things are a lot to do with the influences of our neighbors. As you can see here, Pakistan is divided into 5 provinces, and each province has its own particular rural culture. But on a whole, we have a specific culture as well that belongs particularly to Pakistan. So, what are the things that join us? It's Islam. Most of us are Muslims here. Although we do have, as the white part of our flag shows, we do have ethnic minorities. We have a lot of Buddhists here, as the people from Nepal, Sri Lanka can relate. We have a lot of Sikh people here as well, Christians, and they're also part of our society, but mostly we are Muslims. We speak Urdu. We have the same love of poetry, art, handicraft. Our dress code is more or less the same. We wear shalwar kameez. Then we have different regions, and as you can see, I belong to the Pashtun culture. We are Pathans, and we have a typical dress code, typical dance. Our food is a little bit different from the rest of the country. So each part of the country has their own particular culture, but on a whole, we are influenced by our surroundings as well. The region is the uniformity is in our religion and in our language. The Punjabi culture, as you can see over here, is right next to India. So we have a lot of things in common with India here. The Balochi culture is right next to Iran. So we have a lot of Irani influences or Persian influences over here. The Pashtun culture is right next to Afghanistan. So Afghanistan is in fact, the Durand line is still a thorn in our backside, which the British have left behind. And many of the families are distributed across the so-called geographical border. Then we have Gilgit-Baltistan, which have a Balti culture. It's a mix with China, because Chinese, we have the Chinese border over there. So, and Kashmiri culture, of course, across the disputed border, we have their own particular culture there. So, as you can see, Pakistan has a wide diversity of cultures, and we're very proud of it. You can see from here, this is just, I just wanted to show everybody what a wide range of history we have, and how it influences our lifestyle, and how it influences the disease prevalence. As you can see, we have the Indus civilization. In this picture, we have a Buddhist monastery, Buddhist ruins. Then we have the Sikh culture, Sikh Gurdwara, as you can see in the corner here. Then we have remains of the British Raj. This is the Lahore Museum built by the British Empire when they were ruling us. And then we have the Mughal, the big Badshahi Masjid, and the Qila in Lahore. We have the historical Khyber Pass, which was which Queen Elizabeth visited, and so many dignitaries visited, and it has a very strong historical significance. Then our mountains, we have the Himalayas, the Hindu Kush, and we have, this is Nanga Parbat here. And so we have, it's a beautiful place, and it has a wide variety. and it's the culture is influenced by our surroundings, by our neighbors. It's a mishmash, really. So I just wanted everybody to have an understanding of what Pakistan is like, and it's not just one place, but it has so many different people and so many different influences from its neighbors. This is our food. The food, of course, affects our health, and this is how we live. Our staple diet is roti. As you can see, these are the rotis that are made, and we have it with everything. We have a lot of rice and meat. This is something called Kabuli pulao, which has raisins and carrots, and it's delicious. We also love our meat. This kind of shows you the rich food that is eaten here in Pakistan. We produce a lot of dry fruit, fresh fruit. These days it's the monsoons and mangoes are everywhere. So a lot of vegetables are produced. So it's not the lack of food production, rather it is the lack of knowledge or the lack of education in some of our low-income societies. Affordability and also ignorance both contribute to the malnutrition and the type of diseases that we have. This again, I wanted to highlight the women, since we're all we are a women organization here. So I wanted to show you the women that we have. As you can see at the top, we have the burqa-clad women. Most of the the women here in our rural societies wear these burqas, and because of the strict regime they have, they usually don't go out of their houses. They're confined to their houses. They don't, now the trend is moving towards education, as we're trying to motivate them. You can see here that we have people from their own background that they can relate to, and we try to motivate them to get the women out and to get them educated so that they can improve their living standards. I was just going through a couple of studies, and I found a recent one which was which I found very interesting. This was published now in February 2023 in the Lancet, and it shows us the health state of Pakistan and its provinces from 1990 to 2019. So a lot of things have affected us. We have a lot of challenges, many domestic, but some foreign as well. For example, the Taliban's return to power in Afghanistan, the political turmoil within the country. Then last year in June, we had catastrophic flooding in the very same time that really put the country back quite a few years. Then we went through the COVID-19 pandemic, and that all helped, well, it all contributed to shaping the country's health and development. This study showed us that mostly the mortality was because of neonatal disorders, followed by ischemic heart disease, stroke, diarrhea, and low respiratory infections. And this was all causing premature mortality in 2019. Now, as you can see, the child and maternal malnutrition is a lot to do with food fads and the fact that the women don't come to seek antenatal care as often as they should. Then we have air pollution. Nobody is really taking it seriously as it should be. Our diet mainly consists of wheat, rice, fat, high protein intake. So that contributes a lot to non-communicable diseases like diabetes. Then tobacco consumption, as you all know, we have something called naswar here, which is made from tobacco. It's a betel nut, like the people in Nepal. We also have betel nut here. And smoking is still not as restricted as it should be. So these things are affecting the health, and they need to be brought out because there's such an integral part of the culture and the society that People take it in their stride and they just carry on as it was before. So we need to work on that. Then the non-communicable diseases they found were mainly ischemic heart disease, stroke, congenital defects, cirrhosis, and chronic kidney diseases. Uh, they found that it was a lot to do with the socio-demographic index as well, because in Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which are two of our provinces that are kind of low income, there they observed that the life expectancy gains were not as good as the rest of the provinces. Okay, this is a pictures of the floods we had last year. The floods caused a lot of devastation. A lot of the majority of the land went underwater. Many people were displaced. This, as you can see, the old man here is carrying roti in a bag, and you can imagine the state of eating of the families that were displaced from their homes. Their grains were wet, unedible, their stores were finished. Even when the water receded, their houses were full of debris from the washed in water. They didn't have a clean place for the children to sit and eat. The wells were contaminated. I went on a couple of flood relief camps where I saw the aftermath of the floods, and we had a prevalence of fungal infections, diarrhea. Then the mosquitoes came out and we got malaria and dengue. So we had a lot of problems with the floods last year, and this is a lot to do with our environment, the way people live. They live in mostly mud houses that are not resilient for all these rains. And then the infrastructure, of course, in the country needs to be improved as well, so that we don't suffer from floods again. So we're all praying this year that the rains don't cause the devastation that they did last year. These are some pictures from my clinic. It's an outreach clinic that I go to about 3 times a week. And here you can see the burqa clad women here. We teach them how to maintain hygiene, how to make the children wash their hands and how they should wash their hands, what type of food to give to their children, not just chai and roti in the morning, because as you know, tea is very loved in our region, I think, not just in Pakistan. And a big pot of tea with the leftover roti from last night is what the children eat in the morning. So anemia, malnutrition, growth stunting, opportunistic infections, these can be overcome if we address it. So this is what we're doing in the clinic. As you can see, fungal infections, even long-term diseases. You can see here the clubbing and the cyanosis because of long-term non-communicable diseases. Then I've also included our vaccination chart that we put up everywhere and convince the people to come in and to get their vaccination done. There is a little bit of resistance, as the doctor from India said, to some of the vaccination, especially the polio one, with the local people spreading rumors that it might cause, might interfere with conception in later life. So we're involving the religious community to make the people realize that it's nothing like that. And in fact, these vaccinations will help in saving their children from future disability. So this is what is happening in my clinic. Now, this was another interesting study published in July 2022. And it mainly showed that diabetes, which is in which Pakistan ranks 3rd in the world after China and India. So we are also, we have a big burden of diabetes here, and the factors which predispose us mainly is our genetics, but lifestyle as well. So this includes obesity. People are not as mobile as they used to. Those that walked now go on motorbikes. Those that had motorbikes are now going on in cars. And people are sitting in front of computers rather than running around, especially the children even. And people are eating more processed food with high sugar content, fizzy drinks, burgers, pizzas. These are the norm now. So diabetes is increasing and we need to address this so as people can overcome all these trends and move on to healthier choices. So this was an interesting study that I thought I'd like to share with everybody. It was a study on cycling and walking in Pakistan and the behavioral traits. And they found that active modes of transport like cycling and walking leave positive and progressive impacts on the health, environment, and society. But people are moving away from this. So we have to come up with such a way that will help the people to trespass the social, cultural, and behavioral barriers and adopt cycling and walking again. So these are things that I suppose make sense to us, but we have to ensure that our people also realize how their living lifestyle, what they eat, how they walk around, their modes of transport, all these things affect their health. So education, counseling, immunization is the way forward, I think. And our culture and behavior has a big impact on it. This is a picture of my village. As you can see, all the children at the back are, some of them are without shoes. We keep telling them, wear shoes and eat healthy. But they're all beautiful children. They're all going to school. This is a picture of my village. You can see sunflowers growing, hopefully the pure sunflower oil, organic food with sugarcane on one side and wheat on the other and fruit in the background. So that's the way forward for a healthy lifestyle and a healthy outcome. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was such a beautiful glimpse into the nook and corner of Pakistan. And we are celebrating this session in light of cultural experiences of South Asian nations. This is a South Asia Heritage Month, and that's why we pinpointed this particular date. And it was so good to see so many wonderful places of Pakistan and culture. Thank you, ma'am, for taking time for us today. Now we would be moving ahead to a beautiful teardrop country, Sri Lanka, and Dr. Hansika would be presenting the former primary care physician in Sri Lanka. She is currently a Master of Public Health student, Seeds Ambassador for South Asia, and we would love to hear from you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Gunjan. Hello, everyone. My name is Hansika Hantanapite. I'm a primary care physician from Sri Lanka, interested in rural medicine and women's health. I'm also a Rural Seeds Ambassador for South Asia. First of all, a disclaimer, Sri Lanka is culturally, geographically, and ethnically diverse, and traditional cultural practices can vary greatly between these demographics. I'm speaking from my own experience working in rural Sri Lanka for close to 2 years as a primary care physician related to the areas and populations I have worked with. First of all, let's talk about pregnancy care and immunization. Even though the government has actively encouraged family planning, Sri Lankans still regard pregnancy as a blessing and birth a symbol of successful marriage. Pregnancy outside of marriage is relatively rare in Sri Lanka, as it is commonly recognized that a stable family unit is essential for the optimal growth of a child. During a first pregnancy, couples often visit temples or religious places of special significance in all faiths. At the religious places, they pray for a safe pregnancy and ask for an uncomplicated birth and a healthy life. During pregnancy, family members strive to make the pregnant mother happy and protect her and the unborn child by relieving her of household duties. Relatives and friends visit often to give gifts of fruit and boiled rice with curries. They will specially bring food that caters to the mother's well-being and nutrition, as well as her pregnancy cravings. Pregnancy brings sense of community to households, with neighbors, family, relatives, and friends coming together to keep the mother happy and healthy. In the last 3 months of pregnancy, it is typical for a woman to move to their parents' home and stay a few weeks after the delivery to recover and receive care. Breastfeeding is culturally accepted and encouraged in Sri Lanka. The rate of breastfeeding initiation is nearly 100%. Public health midwives and medical officers of health who are designated to different areas of the country provide pre- and postnatal counseling and education to support women in breastfeeding practices. Different religions and ethnic groups have different newborn rites of passage, and those traditions are followed even in the present day. Skilled birth attendants attend more than 97% of births in Sri Lanka. Nearly all births take place in a hospital and are assisted by a physician or a midwife. Nearly 100% of children are immunized in Sri Lanka according to our national immunization schedule. And vaccine hesitancy is very rare, as there's decades of trust built between parents and the public healthcare sector in providing optimal care for the children. Talking about cultural influences on lifestyle, diverse cultural beliefs and practices impact heavily on health-seeking behavior of the public. Their compliance with the treatment and the ultimate health outcome. Hence, they are usually dealt with positively by the clinicians for a better patient outcome. Agriculture is the cornerstone of Sri Lanka's economy, with more than 70% of the population living in rural areas. Historically, Sri Lankans ate a diet rich in nutrients, which included green leaves, yams, vegetables, and healthy fats, with rice being the staple carbohydrate. But with westernization, diet patterns have changed to less healthy alternatives, giving rise to an increasing burden of non-communicable diseases. The carb-heavy diet of rice that we are used to as a physical labor-intensive agrarian society from the ancient times has also contributed to this, as most people don't engage in physically demanding jobs anymore, even though our food habits have remained the same. Sri Lankans have always been concerned about the type of food that they choose, including the quantity and the quality of their food. Food security and food availability in traditional Sri Lanka was so rich that it was consumed according to the type of person, such as child, adult, or elder, or according to physiology, such as sick, pregnant, or nursing. Various rice varieties were served to pregnant and lactating women, as well as to sick people. For example, pregnant mothers would be served with a nutritious rice variety, and small children and senior people who couldn't easily digest were fed with easily digestible rice. Although with the recent economic crisis in Sri Lanka, food security has reduced drastically, especially for low-income families in rural areas. In rural areas, people usually grow a home garden of fruits and vegetables, such as jackfruit and bananas and other fruits, and they share the surplus with the neighbors. From my personal experience, this practice has enabled many rural low-income mothers to feed their children during the economic crisis. In general, 75% of all deaths are due to NCDs in Sri Lanka. These deaths could mostly be attributed to food habits. Therefore, food transition can be considered to be a severe public health problem within the country. Talking about illness prevention and management, Sri Lankan diet is rich in spices, which have natural healing and antioxidant and antibacterial properties. Spices such as turmeric, ginger, garlic, curry leaves are regularly added to food, all of which contribute towards good health. In rural villages, if a household was going through an infectious disease, the people in the house will hang herbal leaves with antibacterial properties above the front door, signaling the other villagers about the infectious disease. The villagers will then help by bringing the family food and other necessary items. This practice of Sri Lankans helping each other in the community, even through infectious diseases, was highly evident even recently throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, where people in rural areas helped the neighbors who were quarantined at their homes with a constant supply of food and medicines. Most citizens acted with responsibility and were civic-minded, helping the healthcare workers immensely in saving lives. Sri Lankan people drink herbal teas and medicines as a home remedy for minor ailments such as aches and pains and coughs and colds. In rural areas, people can source these medicines from the villages, but they are also commercially available. One such medicine is called Kottamalli in Sinhala. It's a bitter herbal brew considered to be beneficial for many ailments. Talking about whether Western medicine or surgical intervention is stigmatized or avoided, the traditional medical practice in Sri Lanka is called indigenous medicine, which has some similarities to Ayurveda medicine from the subcontinent. Despite its uncertain and varying official and practical presence, it has had a positive influence on health norms because it seems to place a great value on a healthy lifestyle. Although traditional treatments are not encouraged by Western doctors, it has not prevented the people from seeking it out either. But it is not more popular than Western medicine, even in rural Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has an extensive network of curative health institutions and also a far-reaching preventative healthcare system based around a health unit called the Medical Officer of Health, or the MOH office. The MOH office delivers services that are the foundation of primary healthcare at the community level, such as maternal and child welfare, immunizations, sanitary inspections, health education, prevention of communicable diseases, and the training of public health workers. And this system has been highly effective in keeping our communities safe and healthy for decades. The trust that the free public health system has garnered throughout generations has made it the most sought out healthcare model by the people here. So I wouldn't necessarily say Western medicine is stigmatized or avoided here, even in rural settings. Talking about how family history of illness is handled. Family history of illness is usually a private matter in Sri Lanka, and it is not discussed by outside parties. We do certain genetic screening before marriage, such as checking for thalassemia, but it doesn't necessarily hinder a person's future prospects. This can also be due to the lack of health literacy and knowledge on the genetic basis of disease among the population, but it is not something that's widely regarded in terms of opportunities and marriage. However, family history of chronic diseases such as diabetes or hypertension is discussed openly without stigma. Young people are increasingly aware of diseases that run in the family and seem to be proactive in preventing these diseases. In conclusion, health is a cultural concept because culture frames and shapes how our patients perceive the world and their experience. As healthcare providers, we are more likely to have a positive interaction with patients and provide better care if we understand what distinguishes our patients' cultural values, beliefs, and practices from our own, and can curate our management plans to suit the individual patient needs. Culture is also strongly tied to women's health in terms of sexual and reproductive health choices and menstrual well-being, especially in the South Asian region, where we come from strongly patriarchal societies. I hope we can discuss this topic separately someday. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Well-compiled information from Sri Lanka. And now I guess Dr. Bashrat was asking something at that time. So we have time now. Would like to listen. What was your question? You need to unmute, sir, before speaking.
Dr. Basharat, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have the experience of seeing all these very good countries in South Asia personally. Sri Lanka, India, and Pakistan, Nepal. I have seen there are a wide variety of the people and the culture, the behavior, the way they treat the patient, the number of diseases, both the infective, the metabolic, the others. Everybody is trying his best according to the circumstances they have in Bhutan, the Nepal, the Sri Lanka, India, and Pakistan. What we need is to prioritize. We prioritize the set of diseases which should be dealt first, how to prevent, how to treat, how to make people safe from these ailments. We should have access to water, the clean water, access to the food security and the good food, depending upon our own circumstances. Whatever food we have, we should try to provide to our people in a very good managed way. Still, we are not able enough to do it. And the way we treat, we should take help of the local parameters also. If we have some healing technology available in each of the country, they should be standardized. They should be documented, not only in their country, in the South Asia and the world. If we are able to document these healing techniques, what are available in their countries, we can take benefit of these techniques throughout the South Asia. Also, how to have the good food, the value-added food, the food which can prevent diseases, as a detoxifying agent, as to reduce the carbohydrate containing food, to reduce the morbidity mortality of the diabetes. So we not yet able to manage and prioritize. We are not able to have the proper infection control, the proper the metabolic disease control. We have to do a lot of work. What we need is the regional cooperation. Whatever expertise any country have, we should be able to take help from that country. I know Sri Lanka has the lowest infant mortality rate in the South Asia. This is best they have. So we can take help. This is one example. India is very good in advanced technologies in cardiac and the renal problems. So we can take help. So we should have the mutual regional cooperation and way to go forward. Whatever we do should based upon our own need, our culture, our the pocket what we have and the techniques we have, then we can take help from the West. The technique from West are welcome whenever we need it, but we should also rely our own resources. This is the only way which I can tell.
It's very good. It sounds that we all need to understand what we are best in and use our resources to best of our capabilities. South Asia as a unit, helping each other will make it a very strong unit, and our proximity to each other makes it feasible to help out. Taking any kind of help from Western states, it may not be customized to our needs. So the cultural similarity makes it definitely a better idea to seek help from you. So it was a well brought up topic. Every speaker did put in a lot of good input from their country, and it felt really nice to know what all is going on in our surroundings, how people have been tackling their issues. Now we have Dr. Elizabeth. She has been listening to all these opinions. Would love to hear how she has been feeling about it. She is the chair of WWP WFM. She has been very instrumental in taking this women party to another level. Her leadership role in advocating for the concerns raised by women doctors and women's health in family medicine or general practice is very commendable. Today, when she heard all the opinion about the South Asian nations, I would like to know how she felt. Ma'am?
Good afternoon. I'm sure it's afternoon in that area of the country. Okay, yes. I'm also an Indian by culture. I agree to what you're saying, and I take to it that some of these cultures are also seen in Africa, like the bitter nut, the bloodletting, the postnatal time where people are not able to see patients and see relatives, not allowed to come and see the child or the mother. and also using traditional medications can you hear me? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
They can also use that. It's also, there's a lot of influence about traditional healers. Currently, we are using traditional healers during circumcision period. June is our circumcision period, where the Africans believe that all young boys between 11 and 13 should circumcise in a traditional way, and it should be males who circumcise them. And so initially we used to have septicemia or deaths or infections on these children. So now we are actually training the traditional healers, giving them equipments, clean surgical equipments to do circumcisions. We also motivate them, like you said, immunization is not done by certain people, and it's more religious based issue that we have noticed. But with the improvement of COPC, that is community oriented primary care, in some of the countries in Africa, we have actually made a big change by advocating, educating, health promotion. It has helped them to make changes. So one thing I should say to all the presenters, you have done very well. You have brought out different places.
When did you come back from work?
Hello.
Dr. Elizabeth, can you unmute yourself, because I've just muted everybody due to the background noise?
Okay. Okay. So I should actually say all the presentations were well done and comprehensive. You all presented well, and you expressed the importance of health in different countries. I agree to the previous speaker, Dr. Ali, that we should come with a way that all the South Asian regions help each other with the plus points that they have. On saying this, I'm happy that the young doctors of the SPICE route have met with the female young doctors and have decided to make this workshop today, which is an important thing in the collaboration of young doctors and working party. And we would also encourage you to also collaborate with other working parties, such as rural health. You have family violence, you have research, all those kind of topics. The main purpose of Working Party is to promote leadership among women, to encourage women to be academic role models and mentors to the young doctors, to assist in reducing maternal and child health through improving women's health. That's via advocacy, education, screening, and early management of this women. When we say women, it's not only about patients, it's also about yourself. Now that we are having growing number of doctors who are females, you mustn't forget about your own health. So you must also take care of your health. We are also trying to promote gender equity and transparency throughout the world, and also in the Wonka organization and initiation. This was an example of women participating in webinars and in conferences, and we would like to encourage you to participate, all young doctors to participate into various conferences, from the regional conference to the world conference. in doing this, we are also trying to promote women and young doctors to apply for bursaries. You would see Montego bursaries, Working Party bursaries, and you also have with the World Conferences always sent bursaries from that organization. Please do apply for these bursaries, and if you have an abstract, you surely get a bursary. So please do that. Now, in conclusion, I would like all of you to ask yourself, who are you and what's your purpose? What have you so far achieved? Have you only taken things in, like from our young age, receiving education, receiving messages, receiving things? Or are we trying to build ourselves and make a name for ourselves? And if you haven't thought about it, please do think about it. And then think of the ways that you want to achieve. And we are here to guide you and to support you. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am, for such wise words. I guess we all had a great session today and learned a lot of new things about our surroundings. Thank you, everyone, for taking out time and attending this. And
Just 1 second.
yes, ma'am.
Hiya. There are a couple of questions in the chat box. And before we move towards the question, Dr. Elizabeth, I'm happy to give you an honorary citizenship of Pakistan if you like. Right, that's on the lighter note. Okay, the questions from Sri Lankan speaker. Do you have access to the chat box, girls, all the speakers? Because there's one question directed at all the speakers and there's one specifically from Sri Lanka. For Sri Lanka, sorry. Right, how the religion, culture, background in Sri Lanka has helped in achieving best health index in South Asia. So, Dr. Hansika, are you here? Or Dr. Gobit, whoever wants to answer. And how has the family physicians incorporated complementary and alternative medicine practice in the country?
Yeah, actually, I can answer if Hansika is not there. Actually, that cultural and religious practices are actually influenced here in the health as well. So even actually, there are early days, it may be some barriers for that. But anyway, current era, actually, that actually we achieved the last decade, we achieved a lot of health indicators in the best in Asia. So when we go for the community engagement or that community-oriented primary care, whatever that even for the preventive care means, so that religious and cultural practices has given some boost, actually, that religious leaders and the community leaders has given the much of support to when we go for the some health programs and all. So that is one of that we can act also here. What's the one of that? And other questions about that, yeah, actually that even the other complementary, other alternative medicines, actually here in Sri Lanka, our ministry itself has name as a Ministry of Indigenous and Indigenous and Health Ministry. So every other hospital, even the Unani or maybe and Ayurveda and Siddha and every hospitals are there in some part of the country. So it's like a, even though there's no mainly integrationists are very less, but still the people are has to choose what they are at. But anyway, most of the people are going for the Western medicine and all. But most of the time we also really asked to, actually we discourage them to go there. But anyway, the people has to choose there. So the incorporation is that all the practice are there. But still believe during the COVID, actually this maybe has more because the people are afraid to go to the government facilities for the Western because they have the crowded and all the COVID, and also they try to be there in this that indigenous and traditional practices as well. So it's there actually. It's also part of that. Maybe I can say around 30 to 40% of that people will visit there. But anyway, most of the people even still go for the Westerns. So I may convey the question answer, or do you want any more?
I believe that's been covered. The next question is directed at all the other speakers. Kindly keep it brief. What's the women's cultural role in health in your countries? Dr. Sonam, would you like to comment first because you were the first speaker?
Yes, Dr. Hina. So if I were to put in my perspective, so in our country, most women take the role of a housewife. So being a housewife, unless you have a domestic care helper, so you prepare all your meals for your family. So as a person who is in charge of the nutritional aspect of your family, as a woman, I think beginning from planning your pregnancy, the kind of food you have during your pregnancy, the nutritional supplements that you give yourself, the emotional well-being that you create for yourself as a woman, even from the stage of being pregnant till the postpartum stage, and then to raising your own child and rest of the family members. So that's quite a big role to take on as a woman. So personally, I feel that in Bhutan, women are actually the driving force of every family, be it in the perspective of taking care of all the family members, being the driving force for emotional well-being of rest of the family members. I think women in Bhutan have a huge role and huge task to take on. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Elizabeth has raised her hand. Yes, please.
You need to unmute, ma'am.
Okay, concerning the women, I could say that women should be allowed to have decision making, because in our South Asian culture, we are still paternal and we need to get approval from our people. So we need to be also allowed to be involved in decision making. Educating the women, that we have seen in India. By improving the education of women, we have improved the immunization status and the maternal death rate. So neonatal, the road to health card is understood by the women, and also they're educated, so they have also reached the clinics before time. So you can see that educating and women and allowing them to be decision makers in family issues and into disease issues will also help to improve your practice. So as a family physician, when we see women, we should also talk to them on encouraging them to go for any schoolings, because we have a lot of rural areas where women are still uneducated. Teach them the importance of nutritious food, teach them the importance of health promotion and prevention, and they will help the family to improve, and that influences the community. So that's from my side.
Thank you, ma'am. My grandfather used to say, you teach a man, you teach a man, you teach a woman, you teach a family. And I guess not just the education, but also what is right for their health, this kind of awareness, when we give it to a woman, she makes sure the family is healthy. And that is a good take-home message for everyone. I believe the question has been answered in the chat box. And hopefully there are no more questions now. We had a good session. I think we can wrap it up now.
Yeah, that's fine. If there are no further comments or questions, yes. Thank you everybody for being with us and staying with us for the past almost 2 hours.
Yes, thank you everyone, and look forward to some other ideas and another session planned in recent months. Would love to have you all again.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Dr. Gunjan, you're comparing it well. Thank you. Bye.